Yo, I love this. I love economic stuff. I love trying to figure this out. We got to pay attention to this stuff and make sure we're on the right side of history here. Cut down on all your expenses anyway, okay? Downsize. Just do everything you can. Like, don't panic, but cancel all your entertainment-based subscriptions. Just like, be careful about what you're watching on social media too. I mean, that's probably the biggest thing of all, is just like choosing what kind of hallucinogenic poison that you're putting into your mind through these screens is my tip of the day. But let's get into it. We're going to check out late stage capitalism talk.
If my child comes home from school with a magnet with her face on it, with a note that says, you have to pay $15 or send the magnets with my child's face on it back to school, I will never be paying the $15.
Yo, I totally agree with that. That's wild, man. You can judge me if you want. You can call me petty. Look, if you have kids, you understand what I'm saying, okay? And they're in public school, let's say. There's this thing that exists where it's like, hey, you gotta go onto our online web portal and you gotta charge up your kids' lunch credits so that they can come and buy lunch every day and train them to be a good little slave and get them to understand that that's the nature of this relationship between them and the world, is to show up and worry about their credits and whether they can eat for the day, which is the most sinister thing ever. Did you know that you can just not pay that? And they're not going to not give your kid lunch that day. I think that that's actually illegal. So this whole lunch thing, this is like a total cash grab scandal. I don't know if they're trying to guilt trip the kids into thinking like, oh, look, I'm telling you, I figured that one out real quick. I think you need to explore that one a little bit, because that's crazy, man. That's crazy. And it's like, it's a freaking public school. All right. It's a public school, and they're trying to turn it into a Chick-fil-A with bad, half poisonous food in the first place, which they're forced to eat. So I agree. That's crazy. I mean, the more classic example, I haven't heard about this magnet thing, but the more classic example is the school pictures. School pictures now, those are still around. They're waning in popularity because, like, obviously, like, pictures. I mean, you have a freaking iPhone, you can take like unlimited pictures, but I guess, I don't know. They're traditional, crappy, old school, sitting them in front of a softbox and making them smile awkwardly. They can still get a little bit of money out of you, but bro, that ain't working on me, man. That stuff doesn't work on me. You go ahead. You know what they do? They're going to take that picture. They're going to give you those samples, and then you don't order more. They're going to give you those photos, and don't buy the magnet. Are you freaking kidding me?
And I will be keeping the magnets with my child's face on it. Thank you.
I just want to say something real quick about resistance and patience. I get that a lot of us are still holding on to hope that maybe, just maybe, we still might be able to fix this through democratic processes, through voting, making calls, protesting, town halls. I'm not judging that hope. As a matter of fact, I'm still a little bit there, but I'm starting to understand things a little deeper. Resistance is a process. People don't just wake up one day and say, that's it, revolution. They try.
This is a very soft and light presentation, right? But I kind of have a feeling that this lady's like kind of calling for a little bit of a radical action here. We're going to hear her out, okay? I think she's softening the statement and saying that, like, hey, there is no hope. You can't deal with these problems politically or peacefully. I don't think I agree with that, but I'll pause on that for a moment. We'll just hear her out, okay? Not legal advice.
They try everything else first, because what's coming is real systemic change, and it will upend lives.
I'm like so sick to death of predictive massive changes. Like, oh my gosh, just like gag me with a spoon. It's just put that aside. We'll hear out anyway. We're already halfway through this, so.
It's terrifying. It might cost us everything. So yeah, it takes time to get there. And as the system continues to fail us, when justice feels like a rigged game, when nothing changes, no matter how loud we scream, that's when people realize there may be no other way. Something big is coming, and I can...
Oh my gosh. Something big is coming. You know what? I hate to break it to you guys. Something big is not coming. That's the problem. Okay, it's called coping. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? I'm trying to be real with you for a second here. Something big is not coming. You want a prediction? Try walking around telling people that. You want to really wake people up? Hey, bro, guess what? Nothing's changing anytime soon. I mean, that's about as radical as it gets. There's like this mechanism inside the human mind. It's like, oh man, just so I can make it another day or two, I have to force myself to believe that a major change is just going to magically show up tomorrow. And if not tomorrow, then certainly by the next day. And I'm sorry, I understand it's hard, right? You can feel it. You can't feel it. You're feeling your own imagination. And I am so sorry, but that's just the case 99.9% of the time.
Feel it, and I know other people can feel it.
How would you know what other people feel? That's total projection, absolute projection. You feel something that you created in your imagination, which you're now projecting on other people. No, that doesn't count.
As well. And I just hope we can direct the outrage at the real enemy.
All right, this is what I call soft radicalization. All right, this is not a real solution, okay? I'll tell you what I think the real solution is, but you're not going to like it. It's not going to be popular. It's not going to meme itself into existence, but it's at least something that you can act upon.
Not immigrants, not minorities, not the poor, not the sick, but the super rich. The billionaires are hoarding all of the power while we fight over crumbs. Trickle down? That's a lie. If you were suddenly to get rich, would you really want to give your money to the very people that you hate? No. The logic falls apart the second you think about it. So listen, if you're not ready yet, that's okay, because we know many people are, and many more people are waking up every day.
Waking up? Oh my God. The waking up meme. Listen, first of all, this lady talks about being ready. Ready for what? Okay, the real enemy? Are you freaking kidding me? This is not practical, all right? This is downright dangerous in many ways. The sentiment is fine, but this is more about you getting other people to do something that you're not willing to do. And frankly, you probably shouldn't even be doing it in the first place because it's not going to be effective anyway. So let's finish this off, and then I'm going to give you my breakdown about what you actually can do. That's actual, real, practical advice.
Day. We see it everywhere. We need a majority, not just the loudest ones, but the most united ones. So take your time, get there your way, but please don't sit out forever. We will need you.
Yeah, you will need us. Okay. So there you go, guys. Call to action. We will need you. Take your time. Now it's, we got to do something quick, but take your time. But we will need you. So it's like, okay, so you're not going to do anything, but you need us to do the work for you. What, we're going to take down the wealthy and the rich? Like, are you freaking crazy? All right, look, there's very little unity amongst the peasant class. We've all been fragmented by social media and propaganda campaigns. Like, it's just not that practical, okay? But here's one thing you can do. I'm probably going to be talking about this a lot, by the way, but I'm just going to hit you with it, all right? And if you don't think this is sensible, let me know, okay? But this is the only thing I've come up with that I think kind of makes sense. And it's a little bit extreme, but it's extreme in a way that isn't going to like destroy your life or get you in trouble legally, okay? I mentioned it earlier. It's about starving the system. It's about getting so extreme about the way that you live your life that it's basically like a massive middle finger to the system, and you aren't going to be someone who's working a regular job anymore. Okay, you got to get really extreme with cutting your expenses down. And I'm saying, like, get so creative that if you can bring that thing down to like a couple $100 a month, figure it out. That's actually something that can move the needle. It's like you literally stop supporting a system that has been designed to extract every ounce of wealth and power and energy from you. You buy your time back by getting so extreme with your living conditions. You know how Airbnb is a thing? And just go with me for a second, okay? Because this idea would never work with Airbnb in and of itself, because like Airbnb has their fingers and everything, right? How about this? How about you create you know how we're talking about community? Hey, you got to build up your community, your local community. How about this? How about you create a private network in your community where people who have houses, where let's say you've got like 2 to 4 rooms, and maybe you've got like 1 to 3 spare rooms, depending on your circumstance. Maybe you basically, you're paying this mortgage, but you got a little bit of extra space. You could totally bring someone in there, right? And you work out a system where you build a network of people who want to live cheaply, and they pay a monthly rent to the network, right? And the whole idea is you create like a scheduling system where you can't have a person move into your house and live in a spare room. Once they stay there beyond the 30-day limit, legally everything becomes too volatile. They're technically a long-term resident. The whole thing becomes like, I'm not saying it can't work with the right arrangement, but you work out a system where you're shuffling these people between these shared rooms. Okay, they don't just show up for one day and leave, but like, it's kind of like a modern hostel / Airbnb / independent hosting network. You follow what I'm saying? And you get like 10 houses involved, and maybe between the 10 houses you have like 20 rooms. Okay, and you bring people into the network. And it's like hostels, and you're shuffling people in and out. And like, first of all, you're building relationships with these people. Okay. And they're not like homeless people just like dying in the streets, but they're regular people who are just trying to live cheaply. So they buy in for a monthly fee, and all of these houses are working together. An organic community and business network is forming amongst these people. There's bartering going back and forth based on people's skill levels, and there's some flexibility in what happens here. But at no point does an occupant stay long enough where it becomes this issue that they can become a squatter. That's kind of the main idea of what I'm talking about here. Now, this does not mitigate every legal risk. There could be like risk of theft. Just people turning on the network, but like you have a bi-weekly meeting, you have a monthly meeting, whatever. You're meeting with your tenants, you're meeting with the people who are hosting the tenants, and you're all working together to build something up. This is community, man. It's business, it's community, and you take it out of the ecosystem of the Airbnb. I think this is not a bad idea. I think this is kind of grassroots and clever in many ways. And the whole goal is to just, because both people win. It's like the person who's paying their mortgage, they've got a 3 to 4 bedroom house, and all it's about is just giving people a place to sleep at night. It's not necessarily like you're moving in there, and you can only move in so far as like, you're going to be leaving in a couple weeks anyway. So like, it doesn't really work with a certain kind of person who's like getting ready to live there for a long period of time. So it could be they're showing up with a couple possessions, a computer, some clothes, some toiletries, and they're living. So I think this is a clever business model. It's a clever community building model. But again, you got to treat it like a real community. It can't be this one-off thing where it's just like you interacting with like a random potential client that you bring in as a total stranger. No, like it's got to be like real people interacting with each other. And then again, you meet, you work together, and you're trying to establish something here, okay? You're trying to starve out the system. That's the key. That's the ticket. So that's my gift to you today. An actual plan. No one's coming to save you. A big change is definitely not going to happen. You can move the needle. And you definitely can't do it on your own. Like, you do have to build a community and develop something, okay? It doesn't have to be a full-blown business, but I just basically gave you like a 10-star business model that actually, first of all, that's like, that could literally save people from despair and isolation, which I know a huge portion of the world is going through right now, stuck in their house watching social media all day, every day. Like, it solves a lot of problems, and I'm not saying it's perfect, but just think about it, okay?
There are not enough people. I can't emphasize this enough. There are not enough people. If people don't have more children, civilization is going to crumble.
Right. People are having less children, which means in the future there'll be less people, which means more resources to go around, doesn't it? Well, why is this a bad thing?
Gross profit per employee. The fundamental constraint is labor.
Right. Labor, profit, check. Here's a fun game. In a world that has overproduced...
You know, sir, I mean, I'm not like an Elon superfan or anything, but you know, you got to respect his opinion. You're being a little bit flippant. And there is such a thing as like risk of carrying on the human race dwindling. So do we need more people? Yeah. I think we should keep the whole people thing going personally. So I don't disagree with what Elon's saying, unless he's saying it from the perspective that we need more slaves so I can have cheap labor.
Used and overconsumed itself to the brink of catastrophe. A world that has created unprecedented wealth disparity between the rich and the poor. A world that's rapidly burning through real-world, finite, valuable resources to stimulate numbers on a screen to benefit a very small percentage of the human race. A world that has developed and continues to develop more technology that can eliminate the need for not only manual labor, but most tedious labor. In that world, which is incidentally this world, explain to me how fewer people could possibly be a bad thing without accidentally actually explaining how modern day capitalism requiring infinite growth is a fundamentally broken system.
Okay, well, I mean, bro, like, all right, fine. First of all, calm down. Yeah, I get it. I guess producing more people feeds an endlessly consuming machine. Look, man, I just don't know if you can be on the side of like, we should stop the human race from propagating. Like, come on, man, don't you understand that's the whole point? Is to produce more humans, you know, for better or worse. You gotta give people a shot at least. I understand not all the baby turtles are gonna make it to the ocean, but I don't know, man. I just don't know if we could just give up so easily just so that we can have a slightly more comfortable life. I don't even think life is supposed to be comfortable. I don't think you're supposed to be happy. I think, I mean, maybe I've just been brainwashed by our overlords, but like, it doesn't even bother me I've suffered so long, probably my whole life, at least since I was like a teenager, pretty much daily suffering all day, every day. And some level, I'm not saying there isn't any joy or great memories or good things that have come out of my life, but suffering, like, what are you talking about? Like, suffering is just like the baseline. It's just like you wake up, there's general sense of suffering all day long in some level. And I'm not saying that's great or ideal, and it's possible I could be living my life differently, right? But even people like Elon, with all of his money, the man is suffering all day, every day. He's talked about it in his interviews. Like, you think money solves the existential crisis of being a human being? It doesn't. It just doesn't. All right? And whoever told you that you were promised happiness and satisfaction, this is crazy talk, man. I don't know where you got that idea from, okay? Suffering, it only sounds like things are off because of the words we use to define what the baseline is, okay? Men are supposed to suffer. People, part of the human condition in general, you're supposed to suffer, right? What do you think God sent you here to just live in paradise? That's why he created heaven, right? This is earth. This is where everything, all the stuff happens. Okay, it's not about you and whether or not you're enjoying it. It's just not. Suffering has value. Suffering has value. And not in every context, okay? I'm not going to be all crazy on you right now. But if you're suffering, first of all, don't worry. A lot of people are suffering in this world. And it's not necessarily an injustice. It actually could be the very mechanism for your spiritual path that you're overlooking. So learn to embrace the suffering. Because I'm telling you right now, there's more of it to come. There's more of it to come.
You don't have to be some super brave revolutionary to bring down the system. All you have to do is not have kids.
Okay. All right. Well, look, this is in alignment with what I was saying before about starving the system. Now, look, I don't think it's your duty to have children. I don't think that all humans are meant to have children. Overall, we need to preserve the human race. It is not some veil of shame for you to not be married or to have kids or to even have a relationship or friends or anything like that. Like, all that is absolute system nonsense. So don't fall for any of that. Yeah, all right, we'll go a little further here. Let's hear them out.
Nothing strikes fear in the heart of the capitalist system quite like declining fertility rates. That's why you see Elon Musk, the Pope, the CEO class, world governments all screaming about having babies, because if you don't, you will crash their economies and their party will come to an end. See, what happens if you stop having children is there are less people to enter the workforce, and when there's less people...
Yeah, but the elites already got this figured out. They're like 10 steps ahead. They're building a robot army, bro. Do you understand? They're working on this problem. So I don't know if this is... Look, you got to go back to my advice, which is starve the system out through extreme living. That, to me... Because look, if you do that hard enough, next thing you know, you can have a kid. And then maybe even be benefiting off the system further in a way that wasn't possible without that kid. Don't let them win, man. Especially if, like, you know in your heart you're meant to have a family, to have a child or two. I don't know. This is not the fight to lay your life on the line for. And, you know, you're talking about a decision that could take 100 years to manifest, and you won't even know if you helped or hurt that eventual outcome. So
people to enter the workforce, labor costs more. That's right. That means you get paid more. Also, countries become old on average, and that takes a lot of money to maintain. There are less taxes for them to collect. There are less profits for them to rake in when there are less workers to exploit. So if you're like me and you've taken the last 20 years pretty personally and you'd love nothing more than to see this system come crashing to the ground, even if it is at your own expense, just become a dink. Dual income, no kids. Be selfish, as the Pope says. Don't have kids, and this thing will burn to the fucking ground.
Okay, he might have a point. He may have a point. I'm not going to get all nuanced about it, but there you go. There's a little tip for you. I think it's a little more complex than that. In other words, like, you make the decision to not have kids, but you're still living a comparatively more luxurious life than you have to. You're not that serious about starving the system, which is the new theme for this channel, by the way.
Why does a wage laborer even pay taxes to begin with? We are working and creating more money than we are given, if you understand surplus labor value. So tax the rich, tax the businesses, tax capital gains, tax the people that have the excess money. We're getting a little sliver of the money that we create. So why are we getting taxed on it? Especially since we're not getting healthcare, we're not getting transit, we're not getting things that actually benefit us. We're paying for the middle.
Hey, sir, I don't know if anybody told you this, but that's the whole point of why the system was set up the way it is. You tax the poorer the better. It's more expensive to be poor than to be slightly less poor than poor. That's the whole point Do you understand that it's all by design? Like, it's not supposed to make sense. It's supposed to work for the people on the top. They're the ones who created the rules. Like, what do you think this is? That life is fair? Or fairness was ever promised to you? Clearly it isn't. And things are not going to change. And if anything, things are going to get worse.
Military to go extract more resources to make more money for the people up top. We're not even fucking receiving anything for these fucking taxes that we shouldn't even be paying. Fucking make it make sense.
It makes sense insofar as that it was never meant to make sense to you in the framework you're looking at it. It makes sense in terms of it's supposed to not be fair. You get it? You understand? It's designed that way. That's the whole point. All right? Can we get past this and stop feeling sorry for ourselves? This is the situation we're in. Are we going to do something about it within reasonable power of the control that we have over our lives? Or are we going to keep crying? Because you're acting like a baby, sir.
You know where wage laborers hardly pay any taxes at all? China. Because they have a government and an economy that's run for their people, and they understand that the people that are getting paid the money, we can just take the taxes from up top to begin with. Please make this make sense.
It's not supposed to make sense, and it's fine. I don't necessarily disagree with the sentiment. It's just like, come on, man. At least from an American's perspective, that's my take on this.
The real trap of capitalism is that you're working so hard that you want to live alone. The thought of living with your family, the thought of living with a bunch of other people is so exhausting to even entertain that notion. You need your peace, you need your quiet, you need your isolation so that you can have your morning routine, your night routine. You don't want to cook with someone else talking to you in the kitchen.
She is right. Okay, we're going to give her a gold star for actually being right. A lot of your financial problems are probably tied to the egoic idea that you're supposed to be living a certain kind of life and that living alone is a luxury, right? And but there's an incredible compromise you take, and whether or not it's like living off of family or getting a roommate or Airbnb a portion of your house or something like that, like, I understand it's a lot of work and it's a lot of risk. She is right. She is right. And this is, look, the cost of living, the one of the biggest variables is just rent, mortgage, stuff like that. So you can't overlook this. This is true. Like, imagine, okay, just go with me for a second here. Put the picture in your mind of what you pay per month to live in your house and survive. Well, let's just say it's like, I don't know, $3,000 with your expenses. It could be more, it could be less, whatever. And just imagine you had like 4 other people there with you. And yeah, I understand you're going to have to work out all the logistics, but that's a dividing variable where like you're splitting the difference. And I understand may not go perfectly, but that actually makes a dent. That could literally change your financial future overnight if you were willing to do that. So she is right.
And you don't have any energy left over. So to afford this lifestyle, you work more and more and more. And the more you work, the more isolation you crave. And therefore, the more expensive your requirements become. Whereas if you worked half the hours, you might have double the energy and be able to live with double the people and pay half the rent.
What if, you want to hear my new big brained idea? This is a good one, okay? What if we created a whole new industry, right? You know how they have capsule hotels in Japan? What if it was like this new industry we created, okay? Free business idea, so get your notepad. And let's say we worked out some situation where, I understand there's going to be zoning issues and you're going to have to figure all this stuff out, but like, let's say we buy this like massive warehouse. Okay, we get some entrepreneurs involved. And the whole idea is like, forget living with, instead of living alone, I'm going to live with 3 additional people. Forget that. We're going to get this massive warehouse and we're going to get like 500 people to sign a contract, a monthly ongoing contract where we work out some system. Like it's going to be a communal living situation. kind of like a micro capsule hotel thing with a certain amount of amenities. You're going to have a whole like bathroom infrastructure. You're going to have parking all around this giant warehouse. Everybody's going to be able to like go to their car. And like we just like go all in on reducing the cost of living by joining forces and subsidizing this like living arrangement. And maybe you can mitigate risk by being like, maybe what you do is you promise such an incredible rate. It's like, oh my gosh, I can live cheaply for a whole year if I just, but one of the conditions is like you got to pay like a year in advance, or maybe even like 2 years in advance. You know how people put down a security deposit? Maybe you pay a year in advance or 2 years in advance. You're going to have a whole like homeowners association kind of arrangement going on, but like it just becomes like survival mode, man. Survival mode. And look, you get a built-in community. I understand people aren't going to get along. You're going to have people there to pay close attention and make sure that if you get a particularly combative individual or some major issue, you're going to have to like cultivate and pull people out. You're going to have strict rules. All right. But for regular, peaceful people who just need a place to sleep, to shower, to sit down and eat a meal, can we not work out a system that makes this work? And it's like straight up micro living. Like everything about it is like we're doing everything we can to keep the price low so that you can work a normal job. You could work at a Starbucks and actually be making money and be able to come home and actually interact with people instead of just being stuck there alone in your house. That's another great idea that just came out of my genius mind. I want us to work on that idea. I think that's brilliant. We got to create these warehouse micro capsule super communities, and that's going to change America. We got to work through the logistics and the zoning and stuff like that. But I think that can be done. Maybe we construct them in a way that's like super soundproof, but very safe.
You might find you no longer need such a rigorous morning and night routine. You no longer need so much peace, so much quiet, so much isolation, and you don't even need as much money. Obviously, this is such a simple way to view this. When I was working full time, all I wanted was to live alone. Anyone speaking to me when I got home made me so frustrated because I was just so deeply burnt out. I always thought that my personal freedom lied in making more money, and while in one sense it does, in another sense it also doesn't.
But just think about my idea. I think I'm onto something there. Okay, I got this really smart brain, right? And I'm just pouring wisdom into the world. I hope you enjoyed late stage capitalism talk. Join my $1 YouTube membership. It's $1, man. After joining the $1 YouTube membership, you can jump into my Discord. There's going to be a link that gets unlocked when you join the $1 YouTube membership. Join our private membership community. Who knows? Maybe we'll make some kind of giant warehouse network where everybody can live for like, I don't know, $400 a month with all their utilities included. And then we actually have people to hang out with and friends, and we can live in this giant freaking warehouse. It'd be so cool. All right. And also, I kind of want to do a podcast. I don't know. I need the right people to join my network who are like into that as an idea, but I think we should do a podcast. I hope you have a great day. And if you don't have a great day, I hope you at least have some kind of a day. And I just hope that day isn't like a horrible day. Like, what more can I do for you? And one more reminder, like, no one's coming to save us. All right, so we got to get practical about our solutions. So I am sorry, but that's just the way it is. I'll see you next time. Peace. Sometimes we ride on our horses. Sometimes we walk alone. Sometimes the songs that we sing are just songs of our own.